one of the things that the court was doing, besides just overturning Roe specifically because it was a bad law, right, or a bad decision rather, one of the things the court was doing is it was restoring a little bit of trust in our Republican system. It was saying it was never the court's right to just take this issue entirely into its own hands and write what basically amounted to laws. And now we're setting this to rights. And one of the things that Aristotle says is, bad laws need to be changed and bad decisions can be overturned. But you also need to be careful with it because overturning the law too much in and of itself causes a certain unsettlement, a certain unease in the regime, and it makes people unable to trust the laws, because what if they will just change tomorrow? So you can't flip-flop back and forth too much. So I wonder whether one thing this decision does is it gets us out of a situation where we're just grabbing control of the court with each new presidency and flip-flopping back and forth. Maybe the Democrats pack the court and then they get a new decision that reinstates Roe. And maybe then, we get the court back and we add 10 new justices and they, overturn Roe again. We don't want to get into that situation. It would be unsettling for our regime, destabilizing for our already precarious situation. And so now what we've done is we've said, okay, we've taken the court out of the issue entirely. The people get to argue. And indeed, whatever else happens, right, the people have a say, surely, in debating this, because sovereignty ultimately extends from us. And so, we will now have these arguments in our states. And one of the things that will happen is the actual consequences of the left's philosophy will become manifest in deep blue states. In California, you are going to see horrific things as they manifest the nature of their philosophy, which has unpersoned an entire class of people. We're going to fight this fight in the states. I don't think there's any getting around that. There is going to be a period of time when we fight this fight in the states. But if we are able to make the case to our fellow citizens that in fact these are people, then the way around this without war, right, without fighting with each other over this fundamental question, is by a constitutional amendment. I mean, we could write it into law, but there is always, again, the possibility you flip the Congress and the law changes and you just get back and forth. And this question is too important to be flip-flopping on in the long run. We may, prudence may dictate that we have some time, but I am coming around to thinking that, in fact, what we ought to be aiming for, even if it takes a long time, is to persuade our fellow men to elect people who will amend the Constitution to say what a person is, right? To say that a human being's life begins at conception. That is coming to be my dream, right, for the future in this post-Roe era.